Recently, I received an invitation from my business coach, George Cow, to join the Soul Gym. And this is a process of creating content from a place of sharing from my own experience. And it got me thinking about the beginning of this journey in this version of my business, of being a practitioner in the mental health and well-being space of embodiment and resilience, and how I got started. And when I started, that is a lot more what I used to do. So over the last couple of years, my content and what I've been sharing has always come from the same intention of wanting to share what I am learning or have learned in the spirit of it maybe being useful for others. That's my intention and aspiration. But back then, it really was spurred. This whole business that I am in, this whole service that I offer, this whole vocation that I feel that I have been privileged to step into, came from a specific request from somebody else who themselves a very resourced person, someone who'd done a lot of meditation, had tried a lot of different therapies and spiritual traditions, and had a lot of healing in their lives. But with the arrival of the pandemic, with the arrival of the chaos and turmoil and additional stress and pressure that they were experiencing on the nervous system, clue to what had really allowed me to weather that storm a little differently, they came in this space saying, I can see that in the dissolution of everything that we know and everything that's going on around us, there's a groundedness in you. And this is somebody that had observed my journey. And I want to learn from you. I want to know what it is that you've learned that's allowing you to do that. And so I began to think about that and to synthesize meditation techniques, yogic techniques, psychological techniques, neurobiological techniques, spiritual practices that I had learned over the last... I recently reread my journals and saw that I was reading Carl Jung when I was 16 and journaling about it. So let's say over the last 20 to 30 years, let's be vague, over the last 30 years that I had come to crystallize into a practice and a discipline. And this was key because they wanted that discipline in their lives, that the things that they had learnt and used and were helpful might be synthesized in a way that could be integrated on a daily basis into forming more resilience as life, the world expands and contracts and gets more difficult. And the pace of things in our culture, as we've all experienced, speeds up. There's almost a call to become more and more resilient and being able to do that in the moment. And so I started making videos. I started sharing. I started talking about my journey. I started offering experiences that I'd had and the benefits and what they taught me. And I began working really very deliberately and explicitly in this area with clients at that time. And I've noticed that I still share from my own personal experience, but in a slightly different way, because there's always this balance of sharing, when you're trained as a coach or a therapist, sharing the right amount that still has service for the other in mind. So it's not so much about my process and my story, especially in a session, for example, that the focus is on the other person. However, there is such healing benefit in hearing somebody else's story. And when I began, I always selected practitioners who I knew had actually walked the path. They weren't just talking about what they'd learned. They weren't just talking about helpful ideas. They weren't going, oh, mindfulness is a really cool thing and it's amazing and here's the research. They were embodying it and transmitting it to me through their very being. And so sharing our story is a little bit like that. There's a transmission of being that happens when you tell your story. And the whole 12-step fellowship, if you're familiar with that, was founded by Bill Wilson. Alcoholics Anonymous was the first one, and it's grown into a whole movement of different self-help support groups focusing on different areas: money, gambling, sex, all sorts of addictions. And this idea of this transmission from one heart to another, from one being to another, is the cornerstone of 12-step recovery, which is very powerful and helped people transform their lives in thousands upon millions of instances. And so I guess I'm here to tell you that that's coming, that I want to share a bit more. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm not going to do it here apart from what I've already shared, that I have a sense that returning to a little bit of a commitment of showing my own journey, of sharing from the heart my own experiences as I'm going through them, just like you are, just like every other human being on the planet is, and how I might use my tools, draw upon new tools, learn new things, shares that, one, I'm human. I'm not standing from this position of expert, that I'm a fellow traveler on the path, learning things and sharing from my heart. And two, hopefully my lessons, my stories might give you something in your story, give you hope, give you a tool, give you an idea that allows you to be really living in that space of your own embodied growth, your own journey. So this is my hope. This is just a wish and an aspiration in this video. And that if you are a content creator, some of my clients and people that follow my work are, maybe you might be inspired to do the same, because we really do help each other when we share our stories. I hope this is helpful. I look forward to talking more with you soon. Bye.